So goals for today was to work on PvT, either refine the Blink opening or to learn Stargate. So we can either just, play some games with Blink, look at some replays, etc., go over some problem points. Maybe there's certain styles like a 3-racks or something you struggle against. Or if we go Stargate, you don't have much experience with that. I would imagine we'd probably go a Phoenix opening. We could do one Oracle into Phoenix, but from there you can go just 4 Phoenix into Colossus and just straight to charge Archons. Basically it's still a ground style. It's just a few Phoenix for shutting down early Widowmine drops, Hellion drops, and getting really good control over the matchup. Sometimes you can snipe their Raven. If they go Raven first, you can just fly in their base and kill it. And obviously the other style is more of almost like just mass Phoenix Colossus, where you keep building Phoenix, and often you even go straight to Sky Toss off that if you want to play the modern versions of that Phoenix Colossus style. But it all comes down to what excites you, what interests you as a style.
Okay, I feel like the more Phoenix style with a lot of Phoenixes and Colossi, it's I feel like it is really hard to control, or at least harder than the ground-based army.
Yeah, but you want to try to learn it anyway, so you want to just try and figure that out, or?
Okay, so no. I like the 4 Phoenix or 4-5.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Style. Or I have some replays which are kind of recent. Those are games that I played in the finals of the tournament in which I won this coaching.
Hells yeah! Congrats on that, by the way. I was like, hey, I should be saying congrats first of all.
Thank you. I won those games, but I'm sure there will be a lot to look for.
Awesome.
So I played Blink because I always play Blink, basically.
So if we want to look at those, obviously, but once we can look at those, look at the mid game, the late game, talk about some stuff, come up with some good rules for that, and then we can after that go in and work on the Phoenix opening. What do you reckon?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
This is my first session, coaching session that I get from someone.
No worries. I mean, honestly, it's whatever you feel like improve. Because StarCraft, there's 1,000 directions you can go, right? It's hey, do you want to go be a bit more like SOS, or do we want to go a bit more like stats? Because those are completely different skill sets,
Yeah.
All right, so we'll refine mid game onwards of Blink replays. And then we'll work on that Stargate opening. Awesome. And I guess
I have sorry.
No, continue.
I have literally 0 experience with the Stargate opener, so I need a build order to follow.
Yeah, you'll suck at it, which will be good. That's good. No, it's always good to just be brand new at something. I'm also just starting to learn the same opening, but I'm only getting Protoss versus Protoss on ladder. So I'm like, let me play PvT. Yeah. I want to play this Phoenix style. I got 1 game versus Jason.
It's the same for me. I feel like there are only Protosses in ladder.
It's the most popular race at certain MMRs anyway. Okay, cool. So let's get to those replays. I am on the EU server. I'm in chat channel Piggy, Piggy. So if you just type /join Piggy, you'll see me there. Shoot me an invite. Beautiful. And let's see if we can watch replays together. If we can't, that's fine. But just see if you can watch with others. If it doesn't work, doesn't matter. You can just drag the replays to me on Discord. If because Battle.net is falling apart at the moment.
Yeah, I experienced it yesterday with some friends.
It's
I wanted to play, but
I find you can get most maps hosted. You just need to be willing to log out, log in, try again. Doesn't work, log out, log in, try again. And eventually it'll work. It's just very, very frustrating.
Yes. So I'm trying to create the lobby, but it seems like it doesn't work because I'm stuck on the access lobby.
Just drag the replays to me on Discord, okay? So if you just go get the replays in the folder, drag them to me on Discord, and then you can watch on the stream. There will be a few seconds delay. I feel like the delay's gotten even more recently, which is kind of annoying. It used to be not that much, but So like if I open my stream right now, test 1 2 3, test 1 2 3. Okay, well actually that's like almost instant. It's just the longer you watch, the more lag builds up, I guess.
Okay, I hope that's the correct replay. Let me check.
That's all good. Pillars of Gold up against Team Maker's Raven.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's right.
Let's take a little look see. So yeah, so have you got the stream open there?
No, I'm opening it.
No worries.
And sorry for my English as well. I know that I have a lot to learn.
Oh, welcome. This is the best. All the Americans watching have way worse English than you. Like, let's be real. Is anyone in Europe? I swear, you guys are always like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, my English is so bad." And I'm always like, "It's literally perfect." Like, I meet people all the time that live in Australia who have worse English than you, mate.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it, but okay. So I have your stream open.
Fantastic. All right, cool. So, and you just doing? You said you were doing a blink opening. Is it like with a sentry or just stalkers?
Just stalkers, but I basically haven't got a lot of experience in general with Protoss build orders because I used to play Zerg, and I switched since like 2 months ago.
Oh, and you'd only played a little bit of Protoss before that?
Yes, I used to play Protoss sporadically. I don't know.
But it was always a
I
bit
don't
more.
know Protoss here and there, but basically I was playing Zerg.
So okay, so very much like not going to be as refined on the details, but I don't know. Looks pretty good. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I'm impressed as well because I like got maximum 4,500 MMR with Zerg, and then I got Masters 2 with Protoss in like 1 month. So I'm okay.
Seems to suit you. Seems to suit you. What MMR is Masters 2 on EU?
4,600, I think.
Awesome. Wow. Okay, that's great. All right. Cool. So in this game, map vision seems to suck really badly. That seems to be the big thing that's hurting you, right? Because for the last, you were looking really good, and then the last like 3 minutes, you've just been completely blind, except for like maybe an occasional stalker on some spot of the map. And because of that, he's been killing a lot of probes and doing some really good stuff. So that
in this game in particular, I didn't scout the, or at least didn't realize the banshees.
And
so I lost a lot of probes to them.
Yeah, we lost a lot. So from here, you're kind of marauding around with the Colossus, Stalker, Zealots. You're just kind of being scary. So let's just kind of...
Yeah, I like being active on the map like that.
Yeah. Your prisms are very late, though. I don't think you lost one yet. No, you didn't. So you build 2 warp prisms now, but it's just kind of very late. So for an active player, I mean, that's one of the best things you can do in PvT is just be really active, and having a prism while your army does this stuff is so huge. You know, at this point, yeah, there's turrets up, but they are up pretty recently. Like Terran can't really afford those that early in the game. But here we have a very crazy attack from you because you know War Prism, you haven't really been reinforcing this army that much. So to fight here made no sense, I think, right? So this is where it feels like you're playing by feel and you're not really planning ahead. You're just kind of like, maybe I could do some stuff.
Yes, you're right. I lose the plan later in the game. I don't know how to express it. I feel like in the early game, I have a really clear plan. Basically, I want to do this and that, and then I kind of lose it as the game goes on.
Yeah, that's very common. So I think what we want to focus on there, just kind of looking at this generally, is like, okay, so PvT, Blink, Replay, Pillars of Gold. There's like a lot of different things we could do, but for starts, okay, map vision is huge, always, map vision. Second is earlier Prism, I mentioned, right? So map vision, earlier Prism. Actually knowing attack timings and planning them ahead of time. So this doesn't have to be like, oh, we're doing a 2 base Colossus push. But there's moments where, for instance, with most Colossus builds, where when you get 3 Colossus, or 2, sometimes 2, but usually 3 Colossus, a Warp Prism, and then when you add, like, you've got a few round of Zealot Warp-ins, and then you add, like, 1 round of Archons, your army just is, like, very powerful. There's usually a point where your army is, like, so like, if we look at your army just before you went and attacked there, I mean, it was kind of all delayed but you were killing units even though you were taking economic damage. But when you come down here, right? Sorry, this was like 12 minutes, wasn't it? A little bit later. Here. So this is kind of the point. If there was like, a Warp Prism here and we've just made another round of Archons or something, there's often like a point of an army here, which is really big, where you can kind of, Terrans moved out to take a third, but they might not quite have the Viking count to deal with the Colossus yet. They usually don't have Ghosts yet to EMP your Archons, and like you can just come in, often spreading from 2 sides. So you would be like, okay, half army there, and just try to overwhelm. And especially if their tanks are in the open or anything like that, you could just kind of jump on top of them and collapse on that army. And that's always the goal with a big attack time. You want to get on top of the army. Obviously, you can click a command center, you can kill SCVs, but if the bio can start it back and spread our zealots out, our army becomes much weaker. Whereas if we can kind of wrap around their army from 2 sides with zealots and actually have the Colossus and the Stalkers and the zealots all fighting together, it's a completely different engagement. Whereas what often happens, if we look at this fight...
Yeah, I got stuck on the CC and the zealots went alone.
Yeah. And then when you do fight, the bio can kind of fall back and your Colossus are like, oh, we're shooting 1 Marauder. Oh, we're shooting a Commander. This is every Protoss attack. This is what's going to happen where you're like, oh, it looks like it's going to go okay. But then, like, yeah, if we don't sandwich them or if we're not very active with Micro and Colossus forward and stuff, that could be big. Always have a sentry for Guardian Shield, right? That's something you don't need to be super good to use, but that should just be like something that always ticks in your head, just as like a rule. Oh, my army just looks a bit wrong. So when you were marauding around the map, you should have been like, ooh, there's something missing here. Oh, I should always have 1 sentry, right? And I'm not that big on force fields a lot of the time, because you do need a lot of energy and stuff for it. It's always a little bit, sometimes they're useful, sometimes not so much. But 1 sentry for Guardian Shield should just be like, that should just be always there. Hit the Guardian Shield in the middle of the fight, and that works out really nice.
Yeah, I often overlook it, but I realize it is very good.
All right, so let's yep.
Did the opener look good to you?
That's exactly what I was about to go back and take a look
okay.
at. So we're doing a 3-gate or a very quick second gateway, but I think our Twilight Council was quite late. So with blink openings, right, there's 2 types of blink openings. Actually, let me check the tiny details first of all. Because you've only been playing for a few months, there could be some bad habits with the very beginning of the game.
I don't even know what these 2 types of blink openers are.
So the big weakness of the one you're doing is a 3-gate blink opening, is you don't have any proper scouting. Until your robo gets out with an observer, which is very late because you've gone 3-gate and blink first, you can't see in their main. So if they go 3 command center, you don't even know. And they can actually get quite far ahead. Same thing if they're doing a very committed push, you don't know until they actually push out with it. Because the Stalkers can only poke the front of the base. So sometimes people will actually delay the Twilight Council and they will get a sentry out really early. And that hallucination sees what's going on. But because you do that, it means blink isn't done until after something like a Widow Mine drop would hit you. So you've got to be more, defend with fewer units, be a little bit more perfect with it. I like the way you're doing it because it's just more gateways. It's a simpler build order. Most of the time, it's going to be completely fine. Even though we're a little slower to get some information, it's totally all right. So anyways, let's just analyze the opening first of all before we talk about those details. So you've gone for a 14 pylon right on time. You're building... Oh, wait a second. I think your 15th probe queues up a little late. No, that's okay. All right, all good. It was just because the replay was fast forwarded for a second. All good. This looks... Yep. And then we're going to pull a probe over. So we should be chrono boosting and putting the gateway down. If you go gateway then chrono, that's fine.
Yeah,
Or
I usually do that.
There we go. Okay.
There we go. I was sending the probe to scout,
Yeah, no, that's good.
like queuing up the.
And you're checking, you just check for proxies right next to you, then you go across the map. You've got your gas up. So at this
Yeah, I
point,
don't always check for proxies that much, but it was a tournament, so I was really scary about proxies.
good mindset. Good mindset. Was this the finals, by the way, or?
Yeah. Not the final game, but one of the finals.
Awesome. All right. So we forgot to. Do you go core before Nexus? Okay, yeah, we're doing core before
Yeah.
Nexus. Big Gabe is a fan. He thinks there's no reason to ever put the Nexus down first because it just makes it easy for the Terran to skip the bunker. So,
Yeah, Neo, he decides to not block my expansion.
a lot of Terrans
I would
won't,
go.
even when they're there on time. This is something I used to have a pet peeve about that. I used to always say, if your SCV is coming in at that time, why wouldn't you at least just like get there a few seconds early and just queue it to block it? Because this is so consistent. And this is something like so many Terran players just don't even think to block it. I don't understand. I think Terran players, I'm like, you're sending an SCV across the map, be a dick with it. And if you don't get the Nexus block, he should be blocking your second gas. I think like a Protoss player is always going to be annoying. Why are Terran players not being half as annoying? You know, you got a worker on their side of the map. Be a dickhead with it. Come on. Anyways, we were a few seconds slow to restart probing here. So check this out. After your Nexus goes down, let's take a look. Nexus goes down. We should be building probes. Oh, it was half a second. Don't worry. Ignore it. That's fine. Probes, gas, queue another probe. Second pylon. Oh, your second pylon goes down even earlier because, of course, it's
I
core
usually
first.
do the second pylon right after the Nexus, and then I start producing probes. I don't know if that is right.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, you can go probe straight, probe then pylon.
Oh, okay.
But I don't do core first that much, so I don't think it makes much of a difference, to be honest. But I mean, your probe's hanging out down there anyway, so this is a real minor thing. I don't think it's super worth us changing that in your programming. Technically, I think, though, you could build the probe a little bit earlier.
Okay.
And then just build the pylon next, then the gas. We're going to rally onto the... This all looks great. You're chrono boosting your first adapt. Your warp gate starts straight away. No, this is all fine. And then you're going to go Stalker straight away. Yeah. And then your Twilight. Yeah. So Twilight Council does go down just a tad later when you go core core beforehand, because your second gas gets a little delayed because you want that pylon. Overall, pretty nice opening. I don't think we need a second gateway that early, though. That's like super fast.
That's the one thing I was about to ask you.
Cool. So I think we only need extra gateways for when warp gate's finishing. Warp gate always finishes just before 4 minutes. So if you start your gateways 3 minutes 10, 3 minutes 15, totally fine. I'd say but if you start it by about 3:10 here, 2 gateways, and then you could do those as a bit of a wall at the front if you're worried about Hellions, right?
Okay, so 2 gateways at 3 and 10.
Yeah, or we can get a quicker robo up defending, but I don't think we'd have the gas for it with your build order because we want to get the quick blink. So we want to go, 2 gateways, start blink, and you want to go the 2 gateways just off 2 gateway units, then start the 3rd gateway unit. So let me write this down. Your opening looks really good. Just basically 21 probe, then second pylon on natural. Writing that down so we don't forget what I said before. And this is 3 minutes 10, second plus 3rd gateway. Up to you if you build those at the wall or not. I
usually do that.
I very rarely wall off. Actually, I almost never do in this matchup, but I think if people start doing a lot more Hellion run-bys, I might start doing it. But for me, I'm all about my scouting and just positioning my gateway units and stuff, but it's up to you.
Yeah, I play a lot with a clan member, which plays Terran, and he is better than me at the game generally because he's 4,900 MMR, and he loves these aliens, so I'm always scared.
Yeah, I think it's every now and then Terran players stop using Hellions, and you're like, oh, cool. Like, it becomes a bit more chilled out. It's a very expensive opening, Hellions. It costs a lot of minerals, but it forces a big reaction from the Protoss. They got to respect it. So that's always something to understand is like if you have a quick third Nexus already started, even if you lose a bunch of probes to a Hellion opening, chrono the shit out of your probes and you often can recover just because they've slowed down their second and third barracks so much if they build 4 Hellions early, because it's just the fastest way you can dump minerals. If you have a reacted factory, it's like bam, 200 minerals every 20 seconds. Like it's a crazy amount of money. So just always keep that in mind. Okay, so at this stage, you'd be on 1 Adept, 1 Stalker. We would not have this extra Stalker building, okay? So that Stalker plus that second gateway money, we could both put into second and third gateway start now. Then we start the third gateway unit and blink right after that, okay? After those 2 gateways go down. Blink plus chrono. And then we'd go the robo just after that. So you see in your notes in the Google Doc, I've written that down. It's kind of like put the second and third gateway, then get the third gateway unit, then get blink, chrono it, and then get the robo. Just so it's like one little sequence of actions where it always happens in that order. And that should be really nice. Now, let's go back a step and rewind. What can we do? Well, right now you're new to the race. So I like that you're much more focused on your macro. You're setting things up. But what you could do is be a bit more of a dickhead. So
with the probe,
your probe could be much more annoying. So with your probe, cue it always to move to the ramp and then attack move so that it'll automatically move up the ramp and then start hitting the SCV on its own. Especially if you're on a smaller map like Submarine, even if you check for proxies like this, you will get plenty of time to annoy them, force an SCV off the line. That's going to be good. Especially if you don't scout for proxies, you usually can do that, run away, regenerate your shields, and get back to block the command center. And if you can block that even by 5 seconds, it's so annoying for the Terran player. Always worth doing. So, what time do we want to block the command center on the natural normally? Do you know what time they get 400 minerals normally for that?
No.
Awesome. So that's totally fine. That's good. It is 1 minute 40. Now, if they go gas first, it's going to be a little later. So we see this player, Raven, right now, just started the Orbital and the Reaper. Has 200 minerals. This player did an SCV scout, so it's going to be slightly later than it would be otherwise. But you're going to see, really, it's not a minute 40. It's more like a minute 45 for most players. So let's say a minute 45, because I doubt you're going to be playing any like super perfect pro gamers with perfect SCV doubling up. Most people SCV scout these days. So let's say like a minute 45, and if people are getting it down earlier, you can change it in your mind. A minute 45 block CC, and you can just cue the probe to run circles there a little bit. Obviously, don't screw up your macro at home. That's still more important. But if you can block it a little bit and then, he pulled another SCV, you can just run away, no worries. So first of all, cue scouting probe to move onto enemy ramp, then A move.
And then losing the probe to the Reaper?
Sorry?
Losing the probe to the Reaper. Is that a big deal or
it's not the end of the world, but we should pull back before then. So a Reaper pops at 2 minutes, okay? So basically the idea is if you block the command center till about a minute 50, say a minute 50. So let's say 1 minute 40 to one. Let's just say a minute 40, you block the command center. And then a minute 50, get the hell out of there. Now, if you want to go back in with the probe to really keep them at home, basically you need to go in like immediately at like, say 2:05 or something like that. So right after the Reaper comes out and runs out. So if he goes looking for you, he might just find you. This is if you want to hide your probe. One of the really cool things you can do. So if you're blocking now, he pulls another SCV, you run away. He puts the command center down. What you do is you run to here. You're still watching on the stream, right?
Yeah.
So you run to here, and then you just cue it to go, and you just go hide along the edge. And unless the SCV is building on that very side of the command center, which is very rare, usually they'll be over here or in the middle or something, they won't see you come back in. So they see you leave. If the Reaper wants to hunt for you, he's going to go look down here, up here, and then you wait till about 2 minutes and 7 seconds or whatever, and you come back in and attack that SCV. Probably 2 minutes and 10 seconds, I would probably leave it because you're so close to the command center. So at 2 minutes 10, I'd come out and start attacking it. And that's important because if you wait too much longer, a Marine only takes 18 seconds to build. So if a Reaper pops at 2 minutes, well, 2 minutes 18, time's up. The Marine's going to pop out and come down there. He'll be down there about 2:23. So you're going to have to leave anyway at that moment.
Okay.
Most people will not bother doing this anymore because everyone's doing barracks gas. It's only if someone goes Reaper straight into reactor or something like that, you know, one of these gas first openings, something like this, which we don't see very much. Almost everyone does the same Reaper into Marine, but just something to keep in mind if you want to be annoying with that probe. Now, the other thing we want to pay attention to is pressuring to make sure they build a bunker. Now, a lot of people just build a bunker on time anyway, but I think it's really nice to come in and scout with the Adept anyway. Now,
Okay, so I usually wait for the Reaper, and then if I kill the Reaper, then I immediately go to his base.
Right.
And if that doesn't happen, I just wait the Stalker, and then I go with the Adept.
Yep. So it's a little dangerous here, leaving at the same time.
Yeah,
if his Reaper came in, he could kill like 4 probes.
Yes, and in this particular game, I also lose the units, but it usually doesn't happen.
So what would be useful there with the earlier scout is you could punish them for having their bunker a little bit late, which I think his bunker was not that fast. Like if we went straight across the map with the Adept, I think we might have got there just in time to stop it. And even if we didn't, you can get behind the command center and be annoying. So when you go across with the Adept, so because you're actually max packs and a lot of high level Protoss players will say this is really dumb, but I would say always chrono boost the second gateway unit, and that way you can leave with the first gateway unit straight away. Because when you leave your base, you're pushing back the Reaper as well. He can't come in straight away. And if you chrono boost the Stalker, it pops out so soon behind. Maybe the Reaper can come in and kill 1 probe if he times it perfectly, but then your Adept's in his base doing stuff. So I think that would be really powerful. Chrono Stalker after Adept, and Adept goes straight across the map.
Okay.
Obviously, if the Reaper tries to run in, you can stay there and fight the Reaper with the Adept. But otherwise, just go straight across the map with that shade. And that's really good. So with that Adept, try to delay command center and spot if factory goes onto reactor. That's the most important thing. They usually raise the wall, but it's just about checking, did they put a factory on the reactor or are they just building Marines? Because if there's a factory on the reactor, we know we've got to worry about Hellions, which is, you know, okay, we've really got to lock down our defense. Got to be very tight. Whereas if it's just a barracks on the reactor, you just know it's a bit more of a standard setup of builds. You also, if you see something like a Hellion or a Widow Mine, that's really good because it tells you it's not a 3 racks, which is important. 3 racks is not very common, but when it does come in and get played, it's a build you got to really respect. So seeing a Hellion or a Mine just tells you, oh yeah, it's a 1-1-1. Awesome. Just gives you that information.
Okay.
Any factory units or spotting factory behind wall equals no 3 racks. Awesome.
Which means I'm a little bit safer, right?
Yeah. And your Stalker will never go across the map. Just unless you kill the Reaper, then you can go across with it. But only if you've killed the Reaper.
That was terrible.
Yeah. But this is what happens when you go across the map late. Because you didn't go across early, they just have so many units. It's very easy to lose your units. So if you do go across the map late with your Adept, just do a shade and don't ever go into the base. Just sit outside, throw a shade, you go, oh, okay. I see there's no factory on the reactor, go home. That's it. Like, because after a certain point, it's just, oh, there's 3 Marines, there's a Hellion, there's a Reaper. You just die way too easily. It's really painful. So that's a bunch of little details where those are all high interaction details that we just listed out there in these notes, right? They can all help you out, but they're all little marginal gains that'll put a lot of pressure on your opponent. They'll give you a better feel for what's going on in the game, all that sort of stuff. They're not the highest important things compared to your macro, right? They're good because your macro already looks pretty solid, so they can be layered on top of what you're already doing. I guess that the one macro mistake that's happening in this early game is I feel like we could be using our chrono boost a little bit more. I notice you're stacking a lot of chrono boost. So I already said we're going to use 1 more to get the Stalker out. That's going to allow our Adept to go pressure our opponent. But other than that, I think we probably could squeeze a few inbuilt timings of just chrono boosting probes. So I would always, as soon as that natural nexus finishes, use it to chrono boost itself as it starts building probes.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's a good timing. Chrono
Yeah,
nexus.
I'm not used to use a lot of chrono boost until I get upgrades. When I'm getting upgrades, I feel like I have to chrono boost upgrades.
Heck yeah!
I don't know why.
what you would have done as a Zerg or a Terran to chrono boost upgrades, man. It's I think that's generally pretty good because it's kind of hard if you chrono probes nonstop, but you don't get a third up early enough. You just end up oversaturating your base. But getting those probes out a bit early, it is very nice. It does make a difference. So I think that'll be pretty good. Just especially the early extra chrono boost or two is huge. So you do an extra one in your main here, which is not bad. Just remember, whenever you chrono, you really need to queue up a lot of extra probes as well. It costs they just build so quickly. So I always try to make sure if I chrono boost the Nexus, it has 3 probes queued up on it, either straight away or in the next few seconds, because I know otherwise I'll miss production.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so other than that, you go 3 gate, and then what's the order? Do you just go 2 gas into third base? How do you decide when to take that
I
third?
usually take the third before the gases.
Okay, so third, and then you go straight up to 4 gases from there, is it?
Yes, but it's not as tight as the really early game build.
Yeah.
It's more like I feel like I have to take a third. I'll take a third.
My man.
Yeah, I know that's not good, but
It's all right. It's all right. I mean, you're not going to afford that many observers with this style because you're a little low on gas. But I like that you get the third open so we can probe it up. I guess the threat here is like I'm looking at this and going, a really tight 2 base like stim tank push. I don't know if you can stop it because thing is
I have a lot of trouble with those kind of pushes.
Yeah, because if you think about your power spike, it's either charge or Colossus are the 2 big things that come in next, right? Just Blink Stalker's good for harassing, good for picking off a couple of units. They can't really stand and fight against Stim, Medivacs, tanks, all the rest of it, right? So 1/1 upgrades straight to Colossus. Charge is not being prioritized. That to me says, hey, if we want to do Colossus, that's fine. But let's get the Colossus up a little bit quicker, right? Behind this, let's make sure that's a little bit more of a priority. And yeah, and that's got to be super high priority. That's got to be very important. Or if we're going charge, we go charge and the double upgrade straight away. To do both at once, Colossus 1/1, yeah, and you're still whooping in Stalkers as well. You've spent a lot of money on Stalkers, which are not the best unit. So it's something where I think we just want to be a little bit more focused because you're getting a quick third. This is that was a 4-minute 30 third, and double upgrades, and 2 different tech paths. That just stuff. Yeah, I'm like, let's look. I mean, you saw a third CC, but I think you only saw it after you'd already committed to all this stuff. I think you just see it at 6 minutes. Yeah. You've already gone down all these different tech paths at this point. So if he's macroed really well and he pushes out in like 20 seconds the whole bunch of stim bio and some tanks and medevacs, like, dude, you're in a lot of trouble. So all right, do we want to do more mass charge off blink and do like a very low gas style, then add the Colossus later, or do we want to stick more to that's more of a mobile style? Get up lots of minerals, lower gas, but we can really get out on the map, do more counterattacks and stuff. Or do we want to just get up to the Colossus and add the charge and the upgrades on a bit later?
So what do you feel is the most solid one? Is the most solid one?
I mean, the Colossus are better in a frontal fight for sitting and fighting their army and shaving off units. But Zealots are... so Zealots are... Oh, I'm really quiet. Sorry, chat. Thank you for pointing that out. My bad for the stream. Sorry, guys. Fixed it. Sorry, I'd accidentally dragged my mic volume down. So Colossus are just better. If you want to just take frontal fights and win frontal fights, you do it with Colossus. You can do it with Zealots, but that frontal fight is half your army has to attack from behind. You've got to sandwich them. But more important, you're meant to actually try and do counterattacks and swarm and overwhelm and get enough upgrades. They're both very good. It's just different ways of playing. Like Zealot Stalker's more mobile. You can jump on an army, you can ambush them. Just having Colossus and Blink Stalkers, it's not really, you can't do counterattacks. You can't do run-bys. There's not as much stuff you can do.
Okay, so I'd say let's go with a lot of charge lots.
Okay.
It sounded good to me.
That's a fun style. It's a classic. All right.
Yeah.
So we're going to transition into double upgrade charge lot. So what's really nice is we can go exact same build order. Third Nexus into third gas. No fourth gas if we're going to do that style. And you can technically do it off 2 gas. That's what I call the monkey version. This is what I do sometimes, or I don't even build a robo. I'm just like, just blink into double upgrades, 3 mineral lines, and then I build the fastest 4th Nexus of all time. And yeah, if they go Banshees, you got to just use cannons in that scenario because you don't have observers or oracles. But you can do a third gas, a little bit more balanced. You can get a few more observers out. But the idea is you want your double forge no later than 5 minutes, usually about like 4:45 or something like that. You want to get your third base nice and quick, which you already do it pretty early. You could maybe even get it slightly faster, depending on what's going on. And then you basically just don't take any more gas for a long time. Okay, so the idea there is, what are you doing? You're going 1-1, charge, and obviously we need more gateways. So you need to get, let's say 6 to 7 more gates. So you're already on 3 gates. So we want 9 to 10 total gateways.
Okay, but do I get the charge right after the blink, or do I wait and start charge with the 1-1 upgrades?
I think 1-1 is more important. So it kind of depends where your gas lines up. Depending on how many observers you're building, you might be a little bit gas starved, and how many stalkers you build, and how early you build a sentry for Guardian Shield. So I'm not sure how it's going to line up based on how you do all those pieces. And I don't want to tell you how to do them. I want to let you figure that out.
Okay.
The rule is, as long as charge is finished when you have to fight them, it's all good. So I'll let you figure out where that is. If you like, okay, it's always too late. By 20, 30 seconds when this fight happens, like then they get the perfect siege position. Then my charge is done, but they're so set up, it makes it really hard. Then you do that. Sometimes though, they're pushing in and you are like just chronoing charge and you're pulling back and you're sending some zealots around behind their army to cut off the reinforce. You don't even have charge yet. You're just like, wait. Charge is done. 1-1 kicks in. Go. One more round of zealots. The upgrades all kick in and you're like, boo, and you come in from all sides and it's great. The important thing though with that style is to go for a quick 4th Nexus usually, so that you can really keep your economy going as your main starts to mine out. And it's after the 4th Nexus normally that you would then add 4 gases plus second robo plus robo bay. And then you can go into the Colossus from there and branch out into everything else. But before that, it's a mostly mineral style where it's just zealots, stalkers, and some observers out. And the big notes for that sort of style is going to be, you need to make sure. So this is let me give this its own subheading. And with this style, you've got your engagements, right? So always set up flanks, especially versus tanks. As it goes later, set up lots of run-bys, right? And use Prism to hit their main.
So, and of course, an earlier Prism.
Yeah. Because it's such a powerful way to counterattack. Like, if they're committing just to a super hard 2-base all-in push, you might just be like, oh, I'll just send 3 zealots here and just try to hit their natural with 3 or 4 zealots just to intercept the rally. But you might just fully focus on defending because you're like, well, I've seen people go and slaughter a Terran's entire economy. But if the Terran's already doing a 2-base push, you need to kill the army. So more than anything, it's about, as we said, getting the zealots around. Always set up flanks. Always try to sandwich their army if you can with those zealots. You're not going to really have force fields. You're going to just have a Guardian Shield. So micro your sentry forward to keep Guardian Shield on the zealots. So sometimes you actually move command the sentry. It's already behind the zealots because they're all charging, but you try to move command the sentry up into melee almost, just to try to get as much of that Guardian Shield on them as possible. Some Terrans will just click on the sentry and kill it, but sometimes they won't, and it'll give you crazy value. So that Guardian Shield can be a big winner.
Okay. And do you recommend building a sentry earlier on to scout? Since maybe with less gas, I have less observers.
Sorry, can you say that again? Just cut out for a second for me.
Do you recommend to build a sentry early on to send hallucination scouts?
I wouldn't bother because you're still building a robo, so just get a couple of observers really early, and yeah, that should be totally fine.
And for the map control part that you said in the beginning, should I build pylons around the map, like on the borders of the map?
Hells yes, best thing you can do. Estrella does this every game. Estrella is one of the best PvT players in the world right now. Like, completely unironically. I know he's American, so everyone wants to make fun of him. But they're like, he can't be good. He's from America. This California boy can't be a good Protoss player. What? No, he's always got those pylons on the edges. It's so good because it's two purposes. You warp in a bunch of zealots or DTs for a counterattack. Same thing. It spots drops coming in. And I'll tell you, as a Terran player, if I'm doing a drop and I fly over a pylon, and I'm like, shit, I have to unload to kill the pylon, I'm pissed off because I'm wasting APM. There's no surprise. It's 100 minerals. It's worth nothing once you're on 3 bases killing a pylon. I'm like, can you, goddamn. And then I just have to fly it home because I'm like, oh, there's going to be Blink Stalkers waiting for me, you know? So it's kill the pylon and then the drop just has to run away. So yeah, always pylons on edges of the map and observers as well, just placed nicely. So observer placement, where would you put your observers? If let's say we get 4 observers every game. I don't know how much room you have to get out 4 observers, but if you can, that's going to be awesome, right? So if we just look at this replay, most important is outside their base, right? To see them move out. But where would you put your other 3 observers?
On the edge of my bases to scout drops because I don't have pylons in this game. So
yeah. So you'd probably have one, I guess, down about here on the spotting mode, and like one up over here or something like that.
Either an observer or a pylon, yes.
Yeah, and so if your observers keep getting scanned or killed, it's always take one of these extra observers and then go replace the one at the front. So often I'll have an observer here, and then I'll have another one back here, just in case the first one dies, because I don't want to lose track of where their army is. And then I'll have those other ones there. But I also, if they've got Widow Mines, sometimes you need an observer with your army as well, right? So if I've got an observer following one of my stalkers or something like that, I don't like it on my control group because it runs in and dies, but I like to just right-click it on a Colossus or a Stalker or something like that. If we know armory's finished, which, let's be real, some Terrans in TVP make an armory at like 12 minutes. Like a lot, it almost never, it's very late most of the time. So that's not something we have to worry too much about. But I just like that idea. Prioritize outside their base, get the spotters on the edge. If you can get pylons everywhere, you can kind of pull those observers away from the edges. It's not as important. And that can be big. So in this game, if we just take a look at it, we just didn't have that much vision, right? So we have like one stalker there, but yeah, we don't really have much hanging around. And then he's like, we go intercept his army, but then the Banshees catch us completely unawares. And we don't have, oh my God. After me making fun of your chrono boosts earlier, you didn't have any chrono boost energy to recall because your macro was too good, man. What the hell?
So I was thinking, how many observers do I have to build?
So I think
there's like a cap.
I think
I'm like, okay, no more observers.
I don't know if there is. Like, if they don't have a Raven, you could go to 6, 7 observers even. It's just a cost of gas, really. Is it like, the thing is, you don't want to slow down your upgrades. You don't want to slow down your charge. You want to get your sentry. So it really is just a matter of like, as standard, probably get like 3 observers out, but you might even stagger them. It might be like you build 1 observer, but then you're busy building some other stuff. So I want you to figure out what feels right for you. I don't think there's any like, ideally we get at least 3 observers up as standard, because if we're not doing that, it's kind of like, hey, why are we even building a robo? You know, like, do we even, like, we might as well just make an extra sentry or 2 and use hallucinations, right? If we're only using it for 1 or 2 observers all game until, like, because we're going Zealot, Stalker. So I think it's just a matter of, make sure you build at least 2 observers very early, and then just come up with your own rule. Whether you build 3, 4 observers straight away every game, you think you can get away with that, or if you're like, no, I make 2 observers, and then I get all my upgrades and stuff going, and then I make another observer or two once I'm into 8-gate, 10-gate zealot production.
Okay.
Cool. Cool. But yeah, I think that's cool. So we don't need to learn the Phoenix style if we're doing this. You could technically
Sorry,
go.
could you repeat? I got.
Oh, no worries. I was just saying, this style of like doing more active zealot stalker, it's probably best off blink openings. You can do it off Phoenix, but you would do it more like oh, whoops, sorry. Okay, sorry. Just accidentally typoed something in the document. I just fixed it. Because we were talking about learning a Phoenix opening before. If you were to do that, you can go Phoenix into charge, and play like 5-6 Phoenix, and it would be a similar build up, and that you'd be very low on gas. You'd just get 2 or 3 gases and get a 3rd mineral line and then get a 4th. So you could do the same style with Phoenix opening instead, if we think about it, where you just go Phoenix Zealot into Colossus a little bit later off 4 bases. So actually, yeah, we could learn a Phoenix opening, and that would be like a nice way of, if we know the opponent likes to Widow Mine drop or do like a Hellion attack early or go for Raven, Phoenix is really good against any of those. So do you want to still try and learn a Phoenix opening, or do you want to just kind of focus on maybe practice the Blink opening a bit more with what we've talked about since we changed the build order with a few little details here? Maybe we should just grind this build order out. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the last one is the option that makes more sense to me.
Awesome
Since
sauce.
I'm kind of new to the race also, so maybe learning too much stuff all at once isn't that good.
Yeah, especially when we've got a whole bunch of new things. If we're excited to run around the map with a shitload of zealots. I mean, and you said you were a Zerg player before, right?
Yeah.
So you should be good at...
A lot of zealots sounds good to me.
Yeah, well, I'm like, you know how to smash Ling Bane in from 2 sides. It's the exact same thing. Like, it's a real Zerg-style army, right? It's melee units, power overwhelming, doing lots of counterattacks and run-bys. When the fights get really big, they're not that good at fighting front on. If you get 25 zealots, it's much better to just, they push out across the map. A lot of your zealots just start running into their bases. It's better for the zealots to trade in like small fights and to find the worker line, because if you get 30 zealots in a big ball running towards their army, it's like technically zealots can still be good in a frontal fight. It's just really hard to get the big surround just right. And once the bio gets into a big enough number, it's really scary to just attack into that because they can kite you for days. So that's where we start being more wily. We're doing backstabs, doing counterattacks and all that sort of stuff. Awesome, dude. Let's hop out here. Let's see if we can get a practice game under our belt. We don't have much time, but we can run through the opening. So I doubt Eon Blue's still available, but I'll see if he is anyway. Still up? Question mark?
But the other question is, can we create the lobby?
That's a good one. Give it a go. Start trying to host now. And even if we do it versus AI or something. Oh. Wait. It said Jagannatha. Now it says Pillars of Gold.
That works.
Oh, hey. All right. Make me the referee. And I will shoot Eon Blue an invite. Holy lobby of working. Oh, my God. And he's a GM. He's a GM Zerg, but we'll get him to play Terran. Awesome. Okay, cool. So his MMR would probably be a bit high for us, but obviously it's good to just have a practice situation, right? Awesome. Don't micro too insanely hardcore, but otherwise any style you want, Eon Blue. We just need reps. So I need to take a bathroom break, so I'm going to go pee really quickly while you do. I trust you to do the first 1 minute of the game because I saw you do it very well before. So let's keep it up. I mean, if we think about it, the main change to the build is we want to get the 2nd and 3rd gateway a little later, right? So it's stop at 2 gateway units, get the 2nd and 3rd gateway at about 3 minutes 10, around there. Then we go build this next Stalker, the 3rd gateway unit. We then get Blink and Chrono. We then build a Robo. Yeah, just look at that in the document where it's written and just review that. And then, yeah, that should be really nice. Let me...
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the main thing. And then once you go there, it's just 3 gas, double upgrade, mass
Last
zealot.
One last thing. Do I cut probes when I have to build all these gateways?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. So how about we make it when you have 8 probes on your 3rd base, okay? Well, just to be super safe here against 2 base pushes, because it won't be cutting probes for very long. It's just cut probes for a little bit, get those gateways started, then go back to probing. It's like maybe a very short 20-second gap in your probes or something, which is not a big deal. So I'll write that as a little sub point there. Cut probes at 8 workers on 3rd Nexus for a moment to get all your gates started. Awesome.
Okay.
Great question. All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, good luck, have fun. Let's get into it.
Thank
Kick some ass, mate. I'll be right back. All right. Oh, 1 second, guys. Thank you, everyone, for the love. Really appreciate it. Big thank you, Mathman, for the 27-month resub. Florencio, thanks for the big raid, mate. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Be right back, guys. All right. Let's go. Looks like he's doing all right. He's checked for a proxy. Started the extra probe before the pylon. Good memory. Very good memory. I didn't even repeat that because I didn't expect him to do it. I was like, such a minor detail. So he could have there, if he ran that way and then hid back there, that would have been awesome. Because Eon Blue wouldn't have had the vision. He'd just see him leave that way, and the probe comes in from there. Eon Blue checks for it, little fucker. That's cool. Probe's hidden. Anyways, let's take a look at this. So the adepts here. Awesome. Oh, Siglo, thank you for the 100-bit cheer, my friend. What's up, dude? You're doing great. Like I said, you might lose 1 probe there, but totally worth it. You're doing good. Keep it up. Just chrono those probes on the natural. Keep building workers and just see what your adept can scout here. Maybe it can slow down the command center for a moment. Yeah, and just see if you can pick off 1 or 2 SCVs and shade out of there. Because we don't want to spend too much time microing this, just knowing that we've got macro to do. So that's already enough damage. Really well done. All right, go back to macro, send the adept home, and just focus on keeping your build going. Get the blink chronoed. You're doing fantastic. Great start, dude.
Thank you.
So it's 2nd and 3rd gateway. You then start the next stalker, and then the robo. We don't need
That's
that
right.
pylon yet. Cancel that pylon.
Okay.
So it's, yep, Stalker, then Robo. And then you can do the pylon. That's a really good way to remember it.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because that specific pylon, if we can just delay it to the last second, it just makes the build really tight. It's awesome.
I am here.
What?
Your probes are under attack.
That's all right. He's just being a dick, but you're doing good. Just build an observer or two. Get your Stalker warp-ins going. So, yeah, we'll go double forge. Very early double forge. That's great. Keep up your probe production in the middle of this. We do need to warp in Stalkers. Widowmine drops going to our main. So warp in Stalkers. Just be ready to pull your probes here. You'll be fine.
I am here in the shadows.
Keep building probes and put probes on the third gas and rally everything down to your third base.
Shadows.
Awesome. Let's build upgrades. Yeah, very nice. And we need to remember to come back and start charge when we have the gas, which you're always a bit gas starved around here. Oh, good reactions, dude. Well done. All right. Extra pylon. Just one extra pylon, and then we can do our gateway explosion in a moment. But more probes first of all. So we don't actually have 8 probes on our third yet. So let's chrono your third base one time. Queue up just a couple more probes. And now we can go for the gateways in about 20-30 seconds when we bank up some minerals. You're doing fantastic. This is awesome. Make 1 sentry as well, just so we can start banking energy. And a good thing to look for here is we actually want to be basically supply blocked when all of our gateways finish. And we want a lot of gateways, remember. Even 1 or 2 more. Make sure we get up at least 9 or 10 gateways.
Okay, that's enough.
Yeah. Now we can go back to probing and build another pylon. And actually a bunch of pylons is probably best since...
Your warriors have engaged the enemy.
Since when you go up to that many gateways, your production's going to go crazy. So, yeah. All right. So, non-stop zealot warp-ins from here. And let's... say what?
The Fort Nexus?
Get a probe over there. You don't need to start it just yet. Just non-stop zealot warp-ins for now. And just a couple more probes. 2 or 3 more probes is all you need. 2, yeah. And just keep warping in zealots non-stop is the most important thing. And if you can get pylons on the edges of the map now, that would be great. So if you can just send 1 probe out to, say, the right-hand side of the map to start building some pylons, that would be awesome. Just making non-stop zealots here. It's really easy to get distracted and try to go to the next step. The next step is literally 2 minutes of just keep building zealots and pylons and zealots and pylons.
Let's not forget about the pylons.
Yeah. After the pylons, more zealots and then more pylons. And he's coming with a push. Watch out.
Ooh. Yeah, I was so focused on the...
And warp in another round of zealots before you fight as well. Get him! You got this. Smash him. You see how hard the micro is with this composition? You notice how you had to attack move? Ooh.
Zerg Micro.
True Zerg player micro right there. Because you have 70 units left, yeah, see if you can kill him. You should be making a warp prism, by the way. So warp prism, we can make a round now. Depending, if you feel you're really ahead off the opening, we could have started it earlier. But it's not like going to help you win a fight, which is why we don't really care too much about it. It's why it's okay for us to just kind of build it when we feel it's safe. We don't need a set timing for it. That was perfect, dude. That was awesome. Your 2-2 was almost finished at 9 minutes. Your 2-2 was almost done. That's awesome.
That felt really good, I have to say. But do I take the fourth Nexus earlier or like around that time?
So let's rewind that game. Watch the stream again.
Okay.
And I think it's totally fine for you to just squeeze it in when you get a chance to. So if the opponent is like just macroing crazy hard and has a quick third command center, you absolutely could take the fourth Nexus earlier. But what we were doing was more of the generic standard process. We weren't thinking too much about scouting at all because we were so focused on the standard build order. So this is the way we want to learn. Whenever you have a new build, you just do the most middle of the road standard path, especially because you're busy dealing with harassment. He was being really annoying this game. Raven harassment, Widowmine drop that came in a second time, an empty medevac. His Reaper was being a dickhead. We didn't have any time to adapt. Also, you should never adapt when you first learn a new build order. Why? Because you don't even know the normal build order, the most standard. You can't adapt something that you don't even know. It's nonsense. It makes no sense. So basically, we're doing the most standard version where we're like, well, there could be a big 2-base push coming. So we need to just make sure we build zealots nonstop. Because you had 10 gateways, remember? That's a lot of gateways. That costs you a crazy amount of minerals to keep spending. So just squeezing in 2-2 as your next step of the game is fine. Now, technically, he has a pretty quick third command center. So if that was already landed at this point, we might be like, oh yeah, we should start our fourth by now. Maybe we could have squeezed that in and still held this push. Sure. You're going to get better at judging that yourself as time goes on. So notice how in the build write-up, the way we've written it in our notes, it's really simple. It's like, where is it? Down here. 6 or 7 more gateways. So it's 1-1 charge, 6 or 7 more gateways, and make sure you build lots of pylons after you build those gateways. That's what I was kind of verbally saying to you. But I've written that in your document now. Lots of pylons after you start all the gateways. The idea is you build all your gateways, you're basically supply capped, and then we go for it. And the next thing is fourth Nexus. The big question is when. And when does the Warp Prism start? When do these two things go down? Up to you. That's where game sense comes in. So if you get to the point where you're saying, I can invest in things that aren't just zealots right now, and pylons and spotting pylons, then I can squeeze in a fourth Nexus and the Warp Prism. But those aren't going to help you against a 2-base push. They're next step things. Likewise, and then there's the even bigger next step thing, which if you go even beyond that, 4 gases. Or I should say 3 gases, sorry. 3 gases, because we're on 3. 3 gases, a second robo, and a robo bay. That's another big future step.
Yeah, I was about to ask you when will they do that?
Yeah, so it's kind of like what the thing is, you could stay on the mass zealots for a long time. The important thing is we've hit a stage. You could, even if your opponent's macroing really hard, stay on mass zealot. You might be like, oh, but don't they become bad the longer the game goes? Yeah. So go do a giant 1-1 or 2-2 attack with them, right? Maybe you just keep massing zealots. You wait for 2-2 to kick in. And the dream is if he moves out of his base, you're ready. You got like 20 zealots up here. Most of your army's hanging out here. You got like a spotting zealot there. You got a few zealots on the right. You see him move out. You're like, oh, fuck yes. You just jump on his army. These zealots running his natural. These zealots on the right running his third. You're like, yeah, you just get the easiest win of your life. But if that doesn't happen, that's fine. You load up your Warp Prism. You go unload in the main, warp in 8 zealots there. So you got 12 zealots in the main. And then the rest of your army is spread to come in from here and here and try to collapse on this area and try to take out his army. And you do a big attack. And you've got 2-2, often versus 1-1, or maybe even only +1 attack. You've got zealots in his main. Cool, that's a big attack. So we could stop at this stage, this economy, and never go past this stage. And you could have an insanely good win rate in this matchup if you learn how to do your attacks correctly, how to shut down his move outs and then kill him right afterwards. We could tread water here forever. And that's really important, is to feel comfortable stopping at this stage. Most people, especially when they're learning a new race, which you are still, they're like, cool, I did this stage, let's go to the next stage. And I go, whoa, what the fuck? Like, okay, you just did a zealot weapon, so it's not too bad. But some people will literally do this style, 1-1 upgrades, lots of gateways. They'll make 5 zealots, and then they're trying to make all their gases and their robos. And I'm like, dude, if he attacks you, like, you've got all these upgrades and this gateway production, you haven't used any of it yet, right? That's just silly, right? Like this is where people want to like all they want to do is just keep progressing up the tech tree, up the upgrade tree. That's not how you play StarCraft. It's you're investing in something. Now let's actually try to use that thing. Because unless you have 100% map vision and you're a god of game knowledge and you know exactly how greedy you can get away with, you want to just have a set point where we say build a shit ton of zealots and then either use those defensively or aggressively, whichever way. But you will figure it out in the moment as your game sense develops. You'll learn if you like to be more of a defensive player, more aggressive. Maybe you'll like one way against some builds, a different way against different builds, but you can evolve it from there. And what's really good is that weak spot in your build before, where at this point of the previous game, your 1-1 was halfway done, your first Colossus was halfway done, and you had like a pack of Blink Stalkers. And if a push was to come, you'd just die. Now we've fixed that weak point, and we've also given you a big army which can kill a Terran player who's being greedy as well. So remember, anytime you're building a big army, it's not just safety, it's also the way to kill your opponent.
Okay, and when I do attack, if I do not get pushed before, I always want a prism to drop some zealots in the main base as I am attacking the front, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the one size fits all approach. And even if you're just not really attacking, but you're just threatening them, you like go up the front, you're like, woo, your army runs around and takes a few tank shots. Maybe you pick off a few units and you just pull it back. And then the warp in is finished in the main. And you go, cool, I'll lose 10 zealots, but he's going to take a lot of damage in that main. Most of the zealots go after the SCVs. Some start shift clicking on the tech labs and the reactors and just killing all the add-ons and fucking up their production. Or maybe you kill an engineering bay or something like that. Like, you know, and all it's costing you is zealots. It's like not pretty cheap units, right? And your main army doesn't really take any risks. So I think the Prism in the main is something Protoss players should almost always do, especially if they're zealot heavy with their armies. Because if zealots all are attacking in one ball, one direction, your opponent can kind of group up and start a step. And that's where zealots don't do so good. Whether you're fighting against Roach Hydra or you're fighting against Bio, it's it's going to be the same.
Okay, and the last thing I wanted to ask you is if I do not get pushed and if I can't win the game, right? Okay, sorry. If I can't win the game and I do not get pushed, I just get the fourth and the second robotics facility, the rubber bay, and I go into Colossi and
yeah, and you could choose another timing attack. Maybe you go, oh, when I get 4 Colossus with range and add some Archons, then I go for another big attack or something like that. So you want maybe choose some other big attack. If you do play it a late game, usually it's all about DTs and disruptors. If you can learn that stuff, it's really powerful, the big blink DT attacks. But that's a pretty late game ball game. So I would say still try to have some other Colossus timing attack that's in the middle.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, you'll stack up the experience pretty quickly, but the Zealot Stalker should be really good. And obviously, like, you can even do crazy stuff. Like, if you hold a push and you don't want to go counterattack or whatever, you could start a 4th and a 5th Nexus at the same time if you win a fight, right? You have that freedom, you know, or you could go the 4th Nexus and the gases and the Robo and the Robo Bay all at once. Like, you could just do it all at once if you feel like you're ahead. So you'll develop your game sense, and sometimes you'll do it faster than other games. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Well, GG, well played, mate, and big thanks to Eon Blue. Thank you, mate. Really appreciate that.
I was about to thank him.
Tryhard Reaper as well. Jesus. So yeah, dude, well done. That Reaper was annoying me. I was like, dude, this is gonna throw you off your build so hard, but you still did really well. So good job.
Thank you. It was awesome.
Heck yeah. Well, hit me up whenever you want to set up another session. I know you got exams coming up, so maybe just practice, do your exams. Hit me up maybe when your exams are done and we can schedule in another session when you've got a little bit more time to put more practice in. But whenever you feel like it, just hit me up.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Good night, brother.
Good swim. Good night.
And once again, congratulations on winning the tournament. Have a good night, mate. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Goodbye.
Good night. Awesome.